With whom thinkest thou thy converseth? Well, hello brothers and sisters, and happy Monday. I hope it's going swimmingly, and welcome to Mission Zero. If this is your first time here, my name is Shawn, and this is Battle Cry, the show where we give you a motivational theme that can carry you through a more positive week. This is my favorite time of year by far. The local radio stations switch to all Christmas music all the time, and I love that time of year. Just the celebration of Jesus. And I know there's this movement through the church to poo-poo because Jesus wasn't born in the winter and this whole Christmas thing is nonsense and a pagan festival. Well, okay, I don't care. I celebrate Jesus 365, 24/7. Take back any holiday. I don't care. I'll dedicate any holiday to Jesus, and you should too. And on that note, what I think we need to talk about today are 5 tips to improve your prayer life, even if you ain't got one. The first tip that I want to give us all for a better prayer life is to use fewer words. In Matthew 6:7, Jesus says, when you pray, don't use vain repetitions like the heathens do, these people who feel like they're scoring points with God based on word count. And I think there's a lot of us who, man, we just think, I don't know what I'm trying to say to God, but if I use a whole bunch of words to get it across, that's going to make sure that I'm specific enough that He knows what I'm saying. But that's not how God works. God knows what's in your heart. He knows what it is that you want. You really could just be like, hey, yeah, peace. Prayer doesn't have to be this long, overdrawn thing. So use fewer words. The second tip for all of us to have a better prayer life is to just be more natural. I think because Jesus gave us the Our Father right in Matthew 6:9-13, the Catholics call it the All Father, Protestants tend to call it the Lord's Prayer. But when Jesus gave us this prayer, I think a lot of people fixated on the language. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy... The wording doesn't matter. That was natural speech at the time. That was the equivalent of Jesus telling the disciples, no, man, you want to know how to pray? Yo, dude, love you, Dad, and do something for us, right? This was casual language, and I think we get wrapped up a whole bunch in the pomp and circumstance of the these and the thys and the oh Lord and Abba and nonsense. No, just talk. He is like any other person you would talk to, and you just don't have to make it so formal. The third tip for us all to have a more productive prayer life is to go deeper. In Psalm 42, there is a group called the Sons of Korah. These were the choral singers of David's kingdom. They were given a song, and in verse 7 of that song, they sing, deep cries out to deep. And that has been given a number of interpretations through the years that are all good and edifying. But none of them are exactly right, because what they're singing about, if you really read it, the deep to deep is not the deep in us. It's not the Spirit in us calling out to the Spirit of God. That's beautiful, but it's wrong. The deep that they're talking about is crashing waves. That's what the Hebrew word there means. It's the crashing of waves. And what it means, the crashing of my waves. Call out to the crashing of God's waves. What does that mean? It means the turbulence in us, the stress and strain and chaos that crashes in us, calls out to the thundering roar of the power of God to help us, to save us, to rescue us from our depths. And so when I say go deep, what I'm saying, be more honest in your prayers with God. Don't try and come to Him like everything's all right and fine. He knows you better than that. He knows you better than you know you. The fourth tip is to lighten up. In Psalm 37, David sings to God and he sings to the people, "Delight yourself in the Lord." And the Hebrew word for delight there means to be giddy and to be happy. And I think we don't have near enough of that in our prayers. Have joy in the fact that you get to ask Him for anything from shoelaces to heart transplants, and He will listen to you. The final tip for us to have a better prayer life is to change our context. In John 16:24, Jesus says, "Ask and ye shall receive, that you may have joy eternal." And I think so many people have tried to convince you that you don't get the right to be happy all the time, or that you shouldn't ask for things for yourself because that's selfish. Jesus Christ Himself said that God's desire is for us to be constantly in a state of joy. It ain't selfish to want to be happier in your life. And you need to ask God for the things that can feed that can feed your purpose. Change your context. Can you do that? Can you change your context about your relationship to God and what prayer actually is and what it's meant for? Can you be less talkative and more meaningful? Can you be less formal and more personal? Can you go deeper and yet be lighter and more free? If you can, then you can ask and God will pour out the entire bounty of heaven upon you. So let me ask you, what are you going to pray for? Take this message today, take whatever piece of it you can, and use it to become the youiest you can be. And may God pour out the blessings of relationship and context and understanding in you and me, that we can have so much more in our prayers than we have asked for to date. And man, from the bottom of my heart, in this beginning of the Christmas season, I love you so much. Peace out.